What's up, chat? Welcome back to the stream. It's Tuesday. We're getting tactical once again, and we have been blessed by the great God Emperor of mankind with many new data sheets and detachments. I was just going to talk about the data sheets that have been released on Warhammer Community, as well as the detachment previews that they released, but apparently some people got all the detachments early, and so we can shamelessly mooch off of their content. And instead of talking about, I guess, explicitly the new, what's the word? Preview articles, we could talk about more in-depth summaries, I guess, of the new detachments. Those I haven't seen yet because those are very recent. However, all the data sheets and stuff are have been up for a day or so. So here we go. Let's freaking hop in, dude. And I think we start by just talking about the stuff that we've seen already, because I do think it is probably important to talk about some of these new data sheets. I know there's a bunch of new Necron stuff everyone's excited about, but obviously the stuff that we had released over the weekend is important in the total look at all the new stuff coming out. We do have Captain Titus, who is honestly extremely good. He has captain attachment options. But the big thing is that he brings a incredibly powerful melee profile. Anti-infantry 2, 2 damage chainsword, sustain hits 1. It has permanent sustain hits 1. I think more of a showcase that the leader abilities of yesteryear feel like they're going farther and farther by the wayside. It feels like more and more as you move on, and the edition gets more intelligently designed. We are going to be seeing more abilities that work like this, which is that weapons equipped by models in Titus's unit gain sustained hits 1, not while this model is leading a unit, weapons equipped by models that unit gain sustained hits 1. Meaning that even if he is just by himself, it will continue to work. So you can't play him solitaire or when his unit is destroyed. That's also important for him explicitly because he will oftentimes be alive after his unit's destroyed because of Honor of Ultramar. Kind of a weird ability here. But this gives him a respawn with D3 wounds remaining. It's important to note as well, he has 6 base wounds, so higher than any other Tacticus character. As far as I know, I don't believe there's any other Tacticus Space Marine character that comes in with a base 6 wounds. He also has a 5+ feel no pain, so he himself is actually just ridiculously hard to kill. Once you do kill him, if it was by a melee attack on a 2+, he gets to fight on death. Then if he destroys a model, which is extremely likely unless he gets killed by a vehicle or something, he regains D3 lost wounds and then remains on the battlefield. Now, there's a couple of important things to note about this. So it's a fight on death effect. Importantly, that means that it cannot stack with other fight on death effects. If you have something out of the chapter or something, he only gets to use one of them. He doesn't get to use 2. In addition, it only works while he hasn't fought. So if you charge Captain Titus in and hit somebody, and then they hit him back, he just dies. He just goes away. However, if they charge him and kill him, he will be able to fight on death. But it also means that he doesn't get to do it multiple times per turn, or because he will already have fought during that phase, so his ability doesn't proc. However, unlike all other reanimation effects that we see, this isn't capped. Like, there's no limit on the number of times he can do this. Titus can die like 10 times over the course of a game, even more if you have reactive fighting effects. And continuously respawn every time if he keeps killing people, which is actually nuts. That's super weird. The other important thing to note is that he doesn't he doesn't come back at the end of the phase, unlike a lot of other respawns. So this can occur.
Beyond 6,931
and then a second activation
donated $5 through Super Chat. Necron Destroyer Man's datasheet kinda gets recontextualized by the new Destroyer detachment. Also Tomb Blades with anti-infantry 3+ dev go BRRRRRRRR.
BRRRRRR. Thank you for the super chat. Ryan G 6931. Appreciate you, bud. Interested to talk about that. It feels like his datasheet already is pretty good, but the fact that just a huge sustained hits aura on another load operative character or character with access to load operative is huge. There's some leaked points values that I'm not sure. I don't know if it's like necessarily worth talking about because I don't know if they're going to be the case as soon as they release. They seem a little low, but he definitely feels like Illuminor Sierra has 2.0, I guess. But to wrap up the discussion here, the other thing about Captain Titus is that he works like the old Fabius Bile reanimation effect, where he can be killed not by subsequent attacks of the same activation, because his ability procs after the attacking unit has made all of its attacks. However, because he respawns in the same phase, you can kill him with the second activation. So let's say you go in with one unit, you one-shot Titus's unit, he fights, respawns himself, then the second unit can pile in, engage Titus, and kill him a second time. Because he's already fought at that point, he cannot regenerate. But if you're able to stage out his ability, his like survivability over the course of multiple turns, he actually just respawns infinite times. So there's going to be times where, for example, like Titus is engaged on his own. His unit, like you charge his unit into an ongoing fight. They take some damage. Then on your opponent's turn, they kill him. He fights on death and respawns. Then on your turn, you charge him back in again. And into like a fight first or something, he can get killed, fight on death, respawn a second time. So he can have like 3 lives in a game. And I think that it's not going to be highly unreasonable for that to happen. It will happen a lot. So absolutely insane data sheet. You try to kill this man, he's just going to be like, nah. One of the weirdest respawn mechanics we have in the game. It's kind of cool. It's definitely thematically appropriate for the dude. That's what he does in Space Marine. Basically, he uses his rage ability and heals all of his hit points. But I do think there are definitely going to be some matchups, some interactions where this goes absolutely freaking wild. The other unit, obviously, for Ultramarines is the Wardens of Ultramar, the sort of the leadership ability, the command unit, I guess, for Titus. He can join into the unit, and then the unit can also embed into Assault Intercessors, Blade Guard Veterans, Intercessors, and Stern Guard Veterans. I don't believe that there is... You can put them into, like, Victrix Honor Guard, right? Because they're not Captain keyworded. So you can only put them into the smaller units. I don't know if there's a through line there that allows you to do that. But the other benefit that you get of this is that they aren't required to have Titus join. You can just play them by themselves. I think there were some leaked points for these that put them at like 90 points, which actually might be great. They get a bunch of overlapping bonuses based on who's remaining in the unit. They have if they have Gadriel in the unit, who's the banner bearer guy, they all go to OC2. And then if Gadriel and Captain Titus are there, they go to Leadership 5. So they're actually really, really strong objective holders. Even if they're battle shocked, even at Leadership 5, they don't lose their bonus OC because there's no battle shock clause in the ancient in the banner ability. And then you have redeployment for literally any Adeptus Astartes unit. So you can redeploy vehicles, you can redeploy infantry, infiltrators, all that stuff. If this unit ends up being relatively cheap, it's going to be crazy because the level of resilience you can bring with them is sort of insane. You get... So it's 2 Space Marines with 4 wounds each. One of them has a 4+ invulnerable save. And then you get another 4 models with 3 wounds each. So you get 20 wounds with a smattering of invulnerable saves. Your Gaia Silva, so I think the like PDF lady, as well as Meteoros would have invuln saves. They have Refractor or Storm Shields. And then you have a bunch of like randomly okay weapons in melee. It's all 2+ weapon scale for whatever reason. You get like Strength 4, AP 2, 1 damage power weapons off the guard lady. For some reason, you're like the force weapon is 5/2/2, 2+ weapon skill, and then obviously you have a 5 attack mastercrafted power weapon because Meteoros is like a Victrix Honor Guard kind of guy. So it's like a million like relatively high value attacks, right? And you've six 2+ weapon skill 2 damage attacks, 4 2+ weapon skill 1 damage attacks, and then you're coming in with like, is everyone equipped with this like close combat weapon profile? You have like, yeah, what is this? Another 8 2+ weapon skill strength 4 attacks. For whatever reason, Lucia Vesta, who I guess is like the master of the fleet lady, is strength 4. I guess she's cybernetic, but strength 4 2+ weapon skill. She does karate. So you're attacking like 20 something times with this squad. It's kind of wild. 20 wounds and a bunch of 2+ weapon skill attacks and a built-in OC buff. If they're not expensive, it's going to be wild. I don't know necessarily whether you take this like embedded with Titus, because the attachments that you're bringing them with is like kind of, I don't know, they're sort of mediocre. You're not really shooting like incredibly well out of these guys. It's a bunch of strength 4 AP1. So if you were doing like Titus with Sternguard veterans, maybe because you'd have a bunch more attacks to get full rerolls and sustained hits off of. But the stronger better than fighting the Battle Sisters. Yeah. This weird rogue trader lady, significantly stronger than Battle Sisters. It feels like they just ran out of space. They were like, we could have posted 2 close combat weapon profiles of this data sheet, but we just didn't. So even the non-Space Marines have Space Marine weapon profiles. Kind of crazy. Yeah, what a weird unit. I think this is probably a little bit of a sleeper if their points is not crazy. I heard them coming in at sub 100. If they undercost them, then they might just be like the greatest objective holder ever. And there's also potentially some situations where you take them alongside another unit to get just like this huge brick of sustained hits. Like Titus is captain keyworded, right? So he can dual attach with lieutenants. So you could have this like 18 model Sternguard veteran squad that shoots all these weapon profiles with like rerolls and sustained hits, sustained plus lethal, and then potentially full rerolls as well. Like, is that good? I don't know, probably not, but it's certainly something you could do. At least they don't go into Hellblasters. That could be kind of crazy, but you could build out these just enormous units that you could just stack rules on. At least they're all epic heroes. At least there's that. We don't get a million Wardens of Ultramar, indeed. All right, chat. So those are the Ultramarine units. We've seen those a couple days ago. That's not the craziest thing in the world, but obviously the big one is going to be the new Necron characters that we saw. These got dropped yesterday. This is the detachment preview. Sorry. These ones got dropped yesterday, and obviously these will have a bunch of stuff going on with the new detachments that I haven't had a chance to go through in depth yet. So we're gonna do that basically off the top. Thankfully for us, Goonhammer got early release previews, so we're gonna get to a peek at what they saw in those detachments. Because they have a more comprehensive preview review than the one on Warhammer Community. So that's what we're going to be doing after this. But the data sheets are important for context. Nekrosor Ammentar is honestly probably not as viable as the new Nightbringer profile. However, I think he's more interesting because he's doing something cool and unique. The new Nightbringer profile is just like a greater demon that's better than all the other greater demons that have ever been printed. Essentially, he's doing a lot of the things he did previously, just faster, better, and harder to kill. Nekrosor Ammentar has this cool bubble of bonuses. So he himself is super hardy. He's toughness 8, 3+, 4+. Fortunately, no 4+ field O pain, so thank God for that. He's if you deal a wound to him and he doesn't reanimate it, then it sticks. So that's good. He does come in at OC3 though, and he can gain load operative from being within 3 inches of another destroyer cult unit, which I believe includes Hexmark destroyers. So you can just do the Gilliman thing where you put him next to a lone operative, and he also gains lone operative. There's no clause that the other unit you're standing next to doesn't have lone op. Yeah, so a Hexmark can just permanently lone op him, which is easy to proc off. I don't know if it works on flayed ones. They're not destroyer cult, right? No, they're not. So it's going to be a Hexmark destroyer basically every time, or maybe a Scorpic destroyer, or like the Anagic Durable Bond Scorpic Lord or something. I don't know. There's ways to do it, but in any case, he's going to be lone operative when it matters. He also fights first, so you can't shoot at him. It's hard to charge him because he'll kick the shit out of you.
At 55, Helios donated $2 through Super Chat. So, Ultras have a better god CS. Lovely.
Yeah, the guards, Astro Militarum should start sending their sergeants to the academies of Ultramar because they'll learn how to use their swords. This is fucking 2+ weapon skill, 4 attacks. Weapon profile's pretty wild. Yeah. I mean, the difference is that the Wardens datasheet I don't think has the same level of army support as you would expect out of like a guard unit, right? They don't have a I guess they do give the OC and leadership buff to their unit, but that's like mostly it. And then this is just like a passive army effect, so they don't have any leadership things, so they're not like projecting orders or anything. I think you're just taking them as this stat brick where all these numbers are really high, so you're like, all right, cool. I don't know. This wounds count is kind of crazy. Interestingly, though. I guess it's important to note too that the toughness characteristic actually doesn't matter as well because they're always going to be toughness 4 unless you lose Gadriel and Metoris. They don't have like a special toughness rule, so you'll use the highest toughness characteristic of the unit. And then the same goes for if they join any other Ultramarine units, right? When they pump into a unit, they embed it. They don't attach. So even if at that point you can like take wounds on these guys or take wounds on the T3 bottles, and you don't really care that much. And they're not going to lose their toughest characteristic unless literally every single Space Marine in the unit is dead, which is kind of wild because they aren't an attached unit; they're an embedded unit, which means they don't follow like the leader rules where you ignore leaders for determining the toughness characteristic of your unit. They're actually like super tough to kill. So I guess in some cases they do actually make your unit kind of tanky because they add an additional 12 wounds, like a blade of wounds that you don't really care about. They don't actually do anything besides just have stats. So yeah, if there's something that can be embedded into a unit that you want to absorb damage, it's actually kind of wild. So yeah, going back to Nekrosor, he's hard to shoot at because you can get lone operative from another lone operative. He's hard to fight because he has fights first, so he'll kick the shit out of you before you get to swing into him. And then he's tough. He's not the easiest thing to kill once you do get to grips with him. Right, 9 wounds, the 4+ fail no pain, and reanimation protocols is pretty wild. If you play him in Awakened Dynasty, you can reanimate him after he dies, or Eternal Revenant him back once per game. So honestly, like all that as a independent character itself would be already good. However, when he destroys an enemy unit, he gives reroll 1s to wound for a Destroyer Cult unit within 9. Importantly, that works per phase, and it doesn't care. It's not like melee attacks or anything. So if he shoots someone to death and he has sustained hits to ignore cover pistol, like this weird Tesla gun that he has, if he bosses his rollout and blows somebody up in the shooting phase, he can actually give wound rerolls to like Locust Destroyers and stuff, which is pretty wild. Or the Hexmark that he's just standing next to, which is cool. In addition to that, he also gives all non-Titanic Necron units sustained hits 1 when they target the closest eligible target. Or if they are a Destroyer Cult, they just get sustained hits 1. And importantly, it's all attacks. So this works on your guns too, and it's not restricted to it's non-Titanic, but it's not restricted for vehicles or monsters, so it will also affect things like Doomsday Arcs. So even if, for example, a Doomsday Arc is sitting in the back and shooting its laser beam at a tank, but the tank has screening stuff in front of it, you're going to grant all of its Gauss flares sustain 1, which by itself is already good because you're just flinging a ton of dice at people and getting sustained hits and stuff on lower toughness enemies is pretty good. But this is also just an aura, so it affects everything around him, and will also affect you in melee. So you can use him to babysit your tanks. He's this crazy heroic intervention threat, right? You try to get in and engage the stuff. He heroically intervenes and he fights first. He kills you, and then for any time he's not doing that, he's also just gonna be providing the buff in melee when it comes to the late game, right? He's also giving it to like Silent King and stuff once you get a melee. It's pretty wild. So it works with like Locust Lords as well, right? Because they get enhanced critical hits. So if he gets up to within 6 inches of a Locust unit, they're Destroyer Cult, so they always trigger the sustained hits 1. And then they hit 5-up critical lethal sustained with hit rerolls. So they actually just like go insane. Like, I don't know. This ability right here is crazy, and it's already on this insane stat block. That's like super duper duper. It's just good by itself. I think you would play this guy. The leaked points value is 165, I think, which feels like gratuitously low. And I think you would almost just play this dude without any of this. Like literally just lone operative guy with fights first and a good melee profile. 160, you got it. Let's go. He also gives us like field no pain against psychic mortals at psychic attacks within 6 inches. Good randomly in like scintillating legion matches. This might single-handedly like ruin the scintillating legion matchup if you just this dude just like chills and then field no pains his whole army against every single attack you have. Disgusting. But also he then has this incredibly strong set of aura abilities that he's gonna pump the army with. It absolutely nuts data sheet. It's just crazy. New Nightbringer, I don't think needs like too much introduction. He's just old Nightbringer, but he has everything on his data sheet went up. All the numbers went up. So he instead of being moved 6, he's moved 10. Instead of being 12 wounds, he's 16 wounds. He gets extra 4 wounds, but he loses his half damage. It's -1 damage now. He can still suckle wounds off of people for at the end of the fight phase. He has a 5+ feel no pain. He deep strikes now, so he's easier to deliver. I think his gun went up by a point of AP or something too. It used to be it was like weirdly low AP. I think it was AP2. But in either case, he shoots good. You can rapid ingress him out of reserve now. And he just shows up and then charges people from a million miles away. So he's like hyper easy to deliver. The weird thing about Catan shards is that they were this good stat stick. They were hard to kill for some weapon profiles, but like it was hard to deliver them. And that was like kind of the funny tension of them, which is why they were kind of, if you compared their stats to most other things in the game, they were pretty inexpensive. At least on printing. They got nerfed a bunch of times. But this is just like, you don't even have to worry about it. You just hold a CP for rapid ingress, and this guy's just like, whoa, I'm in. Let's go. What a time. Good. You've done it. You figured out the secret, which was simply to deep strike me. And now I'm in melee. And then he's gonna take like 2 turns for your opponent to kill because he has just a fucking insane number of wounds. I don't think necessarily that people. I saw some people who were actually complaining that the lower wounds or the half damage characteristic means he's significantly easier to kill now. I don't think you quite understand the compounding effect of extra wounds on a feel no pain on already a difficult to kill profile. We basically saw what it did when Imperial Knights came out, and all they did was to go from 22 wounds to 26 wounds, and that like literally broke the game. And this guy got 30% more wounds than he did previously and retains his feel no pain, which means you have to deal 24 damage through -1 damage to actually kill him. If you assume that, let's say you average converting like 10 attacks into him, he's going to reduce probably something like 10 incoming damage. You have to do like 35 damage to kill this man through a 4+ invuln and toughness 11. Like it's crazy. The level of resilience is nuts. And I think the leech points for him was like 315 or something, which is just like comically low. Absolutely comically low. There's no way. I do think the leaks points do feel like they're going to be
Briong 6931 donated $5 through Super Chat. Don't even need ingress. His detachment gives advance and charge.
I mean, I guess you could advance and charge him, but you could also rapid ingress and then advance and charge. He flies over things, so you can advance and charge over the things in the middle and then charge the backline. Like, you imagine like a chapter approved layout 1. And he just ingresses in the thing in the center and then hops over it and then gets behind it. Like, it's so difficult to screen out. Crazy. You could just run up the table, but then you got to go around terrain or whatever. I mean, it's not that hard for him to get in, but it's going to be insane. It's going to be insane. And I think the fact that it's a compounded, like, it's a unit that hits hard, was slow, it became relatively fast, it is ridiculously hard to kill, it's going to be problematic, I think. You're going to have a Nightbringer answer in your list in order to reliably kill him, which is basically like mass, AP1, like anti-monster or something. With stuff that's doing a ton of 1 damage attacks that doesn't really care about his 3+ armor save. That's going to be the goal. Mortal wounds, stuff like that. Yep. Woo. Old Nightbringer, you have to do 17 wounds. This one you have to do 24 to kill it on 50% confidence. Yeah. And then, like, obviously, the difference is that previous Nightbringer, you had to do fewer wounds, but your high damage attacks did less. Now, if you have, like, high damage devastating attacks, like you convert railguns onto him and stuff, he's going to take significantly more damage than the previous version. However, when you're considering the total aggregate damage you have to do to him, it's pretty crazy. And especially if we are also talking, I mean, who knows what's going to happen, because there's been rumors about changes and stuff over the last couple weeks. If we're considering that there could be a core or a rules change to units like Victrix Honor Guard, you don't know if that's going to happen. If that doesn't happen, then people are rocking all of, in order to answer the current metagame, all of this like anti-heavy infantry tech where you're shooting a million times at like 2 to 4 damage. This profile explicitly works well against that. So, it's gonna be, yeah, it's weird. It's gonna be a weird situation. I don't know. My assumption is that the points values that people have talked about are the printed points values, and those are typically wrong. That's my hope, because I don't think that he's gonna be healthy for the game at all at like 310 or whatever. Eat your heart out, Fulgrim players. Compare this dude's datasheet to Fulgrim, and then assume also that he's cheaper. Like, can we can we be real for a second? This is like, he's the same top line. He's a 2+ save, I guess. Higher leadership and OC, whatever. He moves 16 with advanced charge. Fulgrim's a little bit faster, but his weapon profile is like phenomenally worse, right? He has less attacks on his sweep. He has less AP and damage on his melee. His gun is like this weird sustained hits 2 thing instead of being a laser cannon. And he doesn't have any, he has like the situational fights first or -1 to hit, but he doesn't have the -1 damage or the field open. So it's like comical that this model is cheaper than this model when you put them together, because you're like, this is insane. The other thing too is that like all the stuff we just talked about with Ammentar, which I imagine is going to be, it's going to be relatively unchanged, is also going to work on the Nightbringer. He's just a Necron guy, so he gets all the buffs. So you can have his big devastating wound swipe and string attack be sustained hits in any detachment. It doesn't matter. Crazy, pretty nuts. And I think they're all going to work pretty well together, because they're going to be these like big aggressive like melee beaters. Yeah. Anyway, those are some data sheets. Now they also discussed that we're going to be seeing Deceiver, Void Dragon, Transcendent, Concern Shards get extra movement, save, wounds characteristic. So we're probably all going to go to move 10. Hopefully the little ones don't go to 16 wounds. It would feel weird to me if we didn't have like a Deceiver rework, and Deceiver was still a 40 mil base guy who had the defensive stat line of a knight. That would be strange. But I don't know. Who knows? So we could see them all go to like 16 wounds or something like that. My hope is that we don't, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see, I guess. With that though, we can talk about some of the detachments, because we did get some peeks at the new detachments. I think we can start with Cryptek, maybe. Start with the weird ones. So 80 mil base compared to 130 mil base too. Yeah. Fulgrim's also harder to set up and move. He's not like Fulgrim. Don't get me wrong. He does attack, like he does threaten really far. He's moving faster than Nightbringer is, even with advance and charge, and he also advances and charges. So he's like 8 inches, or like it's like 19 versus 13-inch movement. He's like 6 inches move faster. He just is 6 inches move faster. I don't know. But in fairness, most of the time you're going to be setting up for ingresses, and as soon as you become move 10, it's kind of difficult for a rapid ingress not to get a reasonable charge. So anything that's like move 10 with deep strike, you're basically going to get it in on something. It just depends on how easy that is and what target selection you have after the ingress in. So like, I don't know. The difference in threat range between move 16 and move 10 when they're both deep striking in doesn't really like change anything to me. All right, let's go talk about some Cryptek stuff. Could we do destroyers first? Sure. That is the Cursed Legion. Yeah, let's do it. All right, I'm over here on Goonhammer. Big shout out to Goonhammer for putting these articles up immediately. And having all of the stuff to talk about rather than just like 2 stratagems, like the one, like the preview article on Warhammer Community has. Let's get this ad out of here. I had to reinstall my ad blocker because the amount of ads on this website were crazy. Okay, so detachment rule. Destroyer cult units get +2 strength to their weapons. Each turn, if a destroyer cult unit makes attacks that either destroy an enemy unit or reduce one to below half strength, after they finish all their attacks, other Necron models that are not monsters or Titanic units also get +2 strength till the end of the turn. So a destroyer cult, as long as they kill half of an enemy unit, or not even half an enemy unit, they just have to reduce an enemy unit to below half strength. So if you are at half strength, a destroyer cult just has to do exactly 1 wound to you in order to unlock the ability. Or kill, remove 1 casualty. So not the most difficult thing in the world to proc off. However, you're also just getting the strength bonus baseline on destroyer cults. Now, I think that the Warhammer community does have the actual verbiage here. Does the second instance of +2 strength also buff the destroyer cults? Yeah, it does. It does not buff destroyer cults. So everyone's locked in on +2 strength. Whether or not non-destroyers have it depends on whether a destroyer cult model has actually killed you, which is fair. That affects all of their weapons. So regular, like, Locust destroyers go to strength 7, which is okay, I guess. Heavy destroyers, I think the Adminic Annihilator is like the most interesting one. They go to strength 8. Gauss Destructors go to 16, which sometimes matters. I think the Scorpex, getting it in melee is probably the most reasonable. And then you're also getting it on Nekrosor, right? So you get... he just goes absolutely insane. Scorpex Destroyers go to strength 9, so they start to win vehicles on pretty reasonable numbers. So that's good, I guess. +2 strength is in many cases +1. It's like it's +0.5 to win in a lot of cases, but it affects all your destroyers baseline. So if you're focusing on destroyers, you're probably looking good. Enhancements. Don't have points for the enhancements, I guess. Destroyer Onk gives Overlord or Canoptic command bars to Destroyer Cult keyword. Okay. And then the detachment ability works on units. No models. Okay. So the +2, the baseline +2 strength. This is weird. The baseline +2 strength will affect a model with the enhancement all the time. And it makes it so that when his unit kills something, because you're looking at unit keywords for whether or not they bring something to below half, then they'll also get... Whoa! Bucket of Steel Cable with the huge thing.
Bucket of Steel Sybil donated 27 Canadian dollars and 99 cents through Super Chat. When you get a Cursed Ankh enhancement, please consider how good it will be on a Shroud Lord with Lich Guard. Advance and charge street means they move 13 and charge you.
Thank you so much for the big super chat, Bucket of Steel Cable. Appreciate you. So Shroud Lord of the Lich Guard. So the basic Lord profile, the translocation guy, comes in with... He goes to base strength 10, already good. Strength 10, AP 3, 2 damage, devastating. If you can proc the second half of the ability, you can get Lich Guard to strength 9, strength 10. But they're only 2 wounds each still. So you're still only making like 24 attacks, right? I don't know. I'm actually not sure I'm entirely sold on that. Because they also don't get the hit bonus because you're not playing Awakened Dynasty, right? So they're hitting on 3s. So the baseline unit like hits 14. And if they're winning like a vehicle on 4s, they hand them 7 AP3s. That's probably good enough to kill like a gladiator or something. I guess it's fine. But the dangerous part is if you spike low, things get really bad. But it also means that you have to proc the +2 strength gets really weird. So, I don't know.
Ebriong 6931 donated $2 through Super Chat. You missed the +2 attacks on engagement.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. Oh, and +2 movement. All right. So they do go super fast. So they go 13, they go to move 7, and they advance auto 6 with the translocation guy. And then the dude swings 6 times. There's no like reason we take the barge dude, right? He also has a Lord's Blade of melee. Yeah, they're all just strength 10. Basically everywhere we go, we're strength 10. Yeah, I guess I'll buy that. If there's an accuracy enhancement in this attachment, I think we're in pretty good shape. The problem is that like rolling 3+ to hit on your big like doomstank unit. I imagine +2 attacks, +2 movement, and destroy, and a keyword swap is probably a 35-point enhancement, right? So we're talking about a unit that, if we take the translocation guy, he's like 80 or 90, right? 85. I was right in the middle.
Ebriong 6931 donated $2 through Super Chat. Also regular Lord Strength 14.
So we're probably looking at a 290-point unit. With no rerolls, which is a little bit spooky to me. It definitely has the potential to be good, but you're sort of hoping for devs, and you're hoping for good conversion on your hit roll. If your hit rolls go poorly, it's like the end of the world. The regular Lord goes to strength 14, but does he have how many attacks do you have? 3 with the big staff? Yeah, just 3 attacks. I guess AP 3 for 3, but he hits on 3s. I don't know. Then I guess it goes to 5 attacks. 5 attacks hitting on 3s for AP 3 damage. It almost feels like the sword is better. I guess it's only 1 extra attack for +1 to hit and -1 damage. Maybe you're on the scythe. I don't know, chap. I think either way it's gonna be good. But it's gonna be expensive almost certainly, right? Murder Mind is the next one. Cryptek gains +3 movement. Destroyer cult keyword can be attached to a non-character destroyer cult if you want. If you attach to a destroyer cult unit, you cannot gain any non-destroyer cult models, so you can't attach the little guys to the unit. If you do a skid through of your options running destroyers, they're deeply mid. Technomancer with a big destroyer unit is neat. It's a lot of points. Doesn't have any damage output. Does mean that does not mean it's useless. The restriction about non-destroyer models only applies if you attach to a destroyer unit. So you could just give a destroyer cult unit keyword to a wraith unit, add random 13-inch move set up to help trigger movement mortals and add reach. Yeah, then your Cryptek's at the front of the unit, though. I don't know. Honestly, there's probably going to be situations where you're running like Lorcus Lord bricks. I imagine that does the Cryptek dual attachment clause care about the unit you're attaching? It does. Oh, so you can't dual attach these guys if you attach to a destroyer unit? Yeah. I don't know about that. That one's a little bit weird. Destroyer call keyword to a wraith unit seems okay, but you still need to proc the plus. I guess you could use them to proc the +2 strength for other stuff, which is maybe good. I don't know. Mark of the Nekrosor, +1 to hit for the bear's unit. Oh, well. Is there accuracy buffs to this attachment? Yeah, right here. But we can't dual attach them to Lich Guard, so get fucked, I guess. Unforge. All right. +1 to hit seems all right. If you can Locust Lord and you get +1 to hit and then you're fishing for lethal sustains, that actually seems kind of sick. Because then you can fish on 2+ ballistic skill, which goes crazy. Because they get hit rerolls built in. Same for Scorpion Destroyers, right? So, I don't know. Cursed Circlet, D6 Blood Surge move. Goes on a Scorpic Lord with 6 buddies. Vulnerable to getting smoked to single body. Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah. Stratagems. Methodical Murder. Any non... Oh, what's up? Cat doesn't want to hang out. Vehicle monster Necron making sustained hits 1 in shooting or fight phase. Okay, sick. Well, get 5 up criticals, Locust Lords. Let's go. That seems good. You could do like enhanced critical hits on like the big cannon, the Locust Destroyers. They only shoot. There's only like 2 of them though. But a 5 up critical sustained hits goes kind of hard on those. Image of Death. Destroyer cult unit -1 to be hit shooting or fight phase. That's great. Nice thing here is that it matters for the detachments you're giving them. So if you're, they talk about it. If you put it on Wraiths, the Cryptek with the Wraith unit, you can unlock the strat, which is sweet.
Briong 6931 donated $2 through Super Chat. Can you attach Hankman and Murdermind Man to same unit?
It appears that you can, but only if it is Wraith. No. Immortals or Necron Warriors. So not a good selection of them. Like, I don't know. You can, it's maybe on Immortals. Are we that excited about it? I don't think so. Probably not. The key part is that the Cryptek's attachment rule says that you can attach to one of the units listed on the datasheet. So in the case of like a Technomancer, Wraiths, Immortals, Warriors, even if a Noble or Royal Warden has already been attached, it doesn't say you can attach this model to a unit if a Royal Warden or Noble has already been attached. So, to my reading, it looks that the Technomancer cannot be used to dual attach into new units. Unless there is verbiage within the detachment enhancements that I don't know. Mortis Protocols can only be activated the first time a Destroyer Cult unit destroys an enemy unit in a turn. Allows a friendly non-vehicle Necron monster Necron unit to be within 9 inches to immediately reanimate. Oh, it's a weird, but weird. Sometimes good, I guess. Well, I don't know why it's the first time. I guess so you can't like do weird, like you can't like detonate scarabs on people and then reanimate them or something. If you've already shot someone to death, that's strange. Driven to Butchery. Act in your shooting or charge phase. Give Destroyer Cult unit advanced shoot and charge. Lasts until the end of the turn. So if he isn't shooting, you get both. Oh snap! So you get 2 units with this. Oh, once per turn. Okay, fair enough. That would be crazy. We can advance and charge with 2 units if we do 1 in the shooting phase or 1 in the charge phase. Wild. Nice. You don't have to activate it till the charge phase if you spike your shooting and leave no targets. Yeah, that's the best timing for this possible. Definitely feels like maybe one of the strongest advance and do stuff strats in the game, because it's only having to use it on the phase that it's relevant for is big, and then it carrying over to the next phase is huge. If you could do it like once per phase and then do it twice, that would be kind of cool. But this lets you shoot your like weird and mythic blasters on your way in if you're rocking Scorpic Lords and stuff. So that's neat, I guess. The Brick of Victrix kill 4.5 Victrix Honor Guard on average. Classic. I mean, 4.5 Victrix Honor Guard is a lot of Victrix Honor Guard, to be fair. But Marnius Calgar is going to have something to say about that for sure. Especially if you don't have an invuln on the crackback. I'm gonna stab right through you. Spreading Madness. Using your charge feigns on a non-monster vehicle that has not yet declared a charge until the end of the phase. If they charge the target that's already in engagement range of 1 or more friendly units, they get +2. More useful in practice than I thought. Yeah, that's a huge buff. Particularly helpful to have in your pocket if you need to bring Ammentar from Deep Strike. Also helps you land a big multi-charge. Oh, Ammentar has Deep Strike? I didn't even grok that. Do we have it? I don't have his data sheet up. Oh, no, we do. He does. Yikes. Yikes, bikes. I think you're probably 90% of the time you're deploying Ammentar on the table, but maybe if you have up downs, you can hop him around in like Hypercrypt Legion. But in any case, you can put this on stuff that's already in engagement to get 7-inch charges at a deep strike. And so if you have multiple things coming out of reserve, you can ingress one and then gauge the target and then +2 charge with the second unit. Or if you have stuff that's already in front, so like Tomb Blades or Flayed Ones or whatever, you can use them to like beacon in stuff. That's kind of huge. Unnatural aggression. Enter your opponent's charge phase plus one non-monster vehicle, that can declare a charge against one or more enemies that are within 6 inches. Stated no charge bonus if they succeed. Super exciting. Yikes. It is 2 CP. It is the charge phase version, so it's not like Spectacle Spite where you're charging their movement phase. However, it also means that, the Scorpek Lords do mortal wounds, and Ammentar. Ammentar's not a monster, right? See, he's a big infantry, I assume. Yeah, he's big infantry. Man, eat your heart out, Belisarius Call. This fucking guy can be infantry, but you have to be a monster. Get wrecked. Get absolutely wrecked. I guess that lets him shoot in melee, but we could have given it a gun pistol. That means that he can he fights first. So when he reactive charges, it's crazy. Oof, that's spooky. That's a spooky series of bonuses to have. I'm interested to see how often the +2 strength buff will trigger. I imagine that if you're playing your army correctly, it will. But it probably means that, where's the detachment rule? Here we go. It probably means that you are putting some amount of your army into what I imagine to be Locust ranged units, right? We're running like 6 destroyers and like 6 light destroyers and 6 heavy destroyers, so that we have like the optimal chance to get +2 strength on everything else in the army. And then like that, though, they can buff the rest of your gun line up to crazy numbers, right? Like a DDA goes to strength 20, right? You can have a Doomsday shooting at strength 20 sustained hits. Yeah, strength 20, kind of crazy. We can shoot even just like other locusts go up to. Locust heavy destroyers go to strength like 16, right? It doesn't really matter. Yeah, strength 16. But the Enmitic Exterminator is going to strength 8. It's very, very valuable, especially against like T4 light infantry. If you're fighting against like T4 one-wounders, like Zangors, these guys go insane. Start wounding on 2s and sustained hits. Yikes. That feels to me like how this detachment's going to be built. And then all of your backline stuff just has like all these crazy bonuses that you can unlock to keep people safe in melee. I don't know. Seems very good. Locust and Hex Marks, yeah. You fight first even without the fights first ability. Well, I guess yeah, if the unit you're charging has not itself charged, that's true. But if they charged a different thing, you could come in. I guess you could intervene in that case. It's probably not that relevant. Or if they had a different unit that charged that could also activate into you, it means that you will get swung. The fight first matters. So it's relevant if nothing around you has charged that turn. But sometimes you get situations where you counter charge and then your opponent still has fights firsters. Or if you counter charge into another fight first unit. That also becomes relevant there too. Imperial agents can take down the new Catan easily. We're just going to spam devastating wound flamer guys. All right, chat. So that's Cursed Legion. All set. You want to do Cryptek? The Cryptek one next? Necron player in your team was super excited to use these new rules in Teams event, and the TOs just cut off all 500 worlds. They're like, hey, dude, we're not going to deal with this right now. Yeah, I think that's probably reasonable.
At Bucket Hofsteel Sybil donated $2.79 through Super Chat. Destroyers always get +2 strength.
That's true. They do. That's correct. All right, let's do Cryptek time. Detachment rule, Techno Sorceress Augmentations. Cryptek models get assault. Okay. Is it? All right. Sure. Each time a Cryptek unit is chosen to shoot in your shooting phase, you can pick up one of the following abilities for their ranged weapons to gain. Oh, assault is one of them. Okay. Oh, cool. All right. So that's kind of clever. This is what happens when you get to the end of the edition, is that they stop fucking up their game design, and they're like, all right, in order to have optional assault be relevant for a unit, you have to have it applied before the unit is chosen to shoot. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So we give the Cryptek model assault, then allow the rest of the unit to gain assault when they're selected to shoot. Very clever. I like that. That's important. So you get assault. You can choose the unit to shoot. Then you choose either assault, so everyone in the unit can shoot, even if they don't have assault naturally. They get heavy, ignores cover, anti-infantry, anti-mounted. Anti-mounted. We need that anti-mounted tech in the game. Those hellflayers, those demon hellflayers are too strong. They have to be cut down. Anti-infantry 3 is good. Ignores cover is great. Assault's also good. So, okay. That's all right. So if you have a Cryptek in your unit, you can gain assault, ignore cover, anti-infantry. There's some other bonuses too. Enhancements. The Quantum Abacus. Each time you target a bear's unit with a stratagem, gain a CP on a 4+ or 3+ if you're in range of an objective. Okay. Sick. Well, that seems all right. Atomic Disintegrators gives Cryptek an option to select anti-vehicle or anti-monster as adaptation. Probably an auto take on a unit of Tesla Immortals. Yeah, that seems okay. Gauntlet of Compression adds 6 inches to the range of models in the bear's unit. Surprisingly, not actually Cryptek locked. So you could double this up with Abacus in a unit of Reaper Warriors. Definitely a place to consider. Okay. Solid. We can take him with a Plasmancer, get 5 up lethal hits. Out to 18 inches. Cool. Gravitic Bolus. After the bearer has shot, pick an enemy unit they hit to be pinned. Gives them -2 charge to the end of the turn. Sadly, garbage. Okay. Unless it's... They say shots. If this works on Overwatch, it could be some weird implications, but we'll see. Stratagems. Molecular targeting. Well, Necron unit ignores hit, weapon skill, ballistic skill modifiers, and wound modifiers if it's Cryptek. Boring. Microscarab Swarm. Cryptek Necron Warriors unit, a 5+ invulnerable save for a phase. Immortals get a 4+. Oh, that's cool. We love to see that. Oh yeah, Oracan and Sarek will both get the, or Sarah's will both get the benefits from these, right? Because they're Cryptek units as well. It doesn't care about attachment. So Sarah's just like has assault and gets one of these on his gun every time. That's kind of neat. Animus Curse. After Cryptek is destroyed, the rest of your army gets hit rerolls against the culprit for the rest of the battle. Oh, okay. Now we're talking. That's sick, actually. Especially with all the critical hits this army's going to have. If you're rocking like 3 Plasmancers, 3, or 2 or 3 Psychomancers, and we just run them out to go do utility shit, and then they die, you're like, that's fine. Fucking rerolls against you, get wrecked. I mean, this is already incredibly strong in like Montka lists, or like the Genestealer call lists that have the dead character strat, whichever one that one is. Synergistic Empowerment. At the start of your shooting phase, pick a Necron model, excluding monsters and vehicles within 12 inches. That model gains the Cryptek keyword till the end of the phase. This lets you apply Cryptek juice to some other units. Obvious route is that it is either Tomb Blades or Triumph Praetorians with particle weapons. You get 3+ anti-infantry devastating wounds. Okay, that's good. Dropping it on a full Triarch squad is 13.33 mortal wounds before applying any buffs. Oh, because they get the particle pistol. I've legitimately never seen them built with the particle pistol. That's an excellent call out, because I'm gonna level. I forgot they could do that. Oh my god. Boo, boo, boo. Look at that. That's pretty cute. Little devastating gun. Tomb Blade's definitely more exciting, I think. But big Praetorian unit with the 3+ anti-infantry devastating. It's pretty good. Get fucking wrecked, Victrix Honor Guard.
Adriong 6931 donated $2 through Super Chat. Tomb Blade's gun is D6 blast with Cess 2 dev.
Is it? Why is it sustained it's 2? It's just D6 West. They're Tesla carbine sustained hits, right? Unless there's like another bonus in here. I'm not reading. Also, it just it gives a model Cryptek. Oh, I didn't realize it. That's cool. That's actually sick. A model. So it doesn't give the whole unit assault. So you can't just use it to advance and shoot whatever you want, which is actually kind of interesting. Untapped power. Pick a Cryptek unit that hasn't shot yet this phase. When they do, you can pick 2 upgrades rather than 1. The most common options will be assault in one of the force multipliers or ignore cover and stack on top of something else. Not terrible. Honestly, it almost feels like you should get 2 picks baseline. Does it? I guess you are taking like a 60-point character to unlock the ability. But those are good effects. Potentiality Siphon. In your opponent's command phase, activate reanimation protocol of 1 Necron unit that's in range of an objective. Add 1 extra wound if it's a Cryptek unit. Legitimate suite. It's both generically useful to heal with minimal hoops and can deny primary effects for model flip objectives. In your opponent's command phase. That is good. Opponent's command phase is a very good timing for that. Any command phase, to be honest. I think it's a little bit worse than your own command phase. However, opponent's command phase is very good. You are going to reanimate in your own command phase anyway, though, so it's not that big of a deal. Those common options will be assault and ignore cover. Yeah, I wonder if there's some situations where you can be like, you can drop 2 in and you have like a big locust unit where you put in like ignore cover, like assault, anti-infantry or something. I don't know. Neat. Well, that one's kind of fun. I don't know. It definitely feels like there are going to be some cool combos in it. I do like that it's like anti-infantry devastating. Remember when everyone was like, guys, we could give mass devastating anti-infantry attacks to Deathwatch. It's going to break the whole game. And then you realize it's literally only infantry, something that they're going to kill anyway. And I think that in most cases, that's going to be the case. I do think that we are in there is a predominance of high resilience infantry right now. It's because of Victor Sondergaard. And giving like some very pointed answers to that is kind of cute. This even still only kills 3 guys. So I don't know. And requires you to take like a pretty subpar unit to begin with. So I don't even think it's like that great, but it's okay, I guess. It's all right. This detachment seems totally fine. Victrix Honor Guard, Anti-Infantry 3, Rack Victory, or Tomb Blaze do. So 6 Tomb Blaze, blast +1, right? They shoot D6 +1 shots each, assuming they blast once. Unless it's like, I think that you can only ever blast 1 time, unless it's explicitly the Calgar plus Kato brick. It's the only time you get 2 blasts on Victrix Honor Guard. So you're getting 4.5 times 6 shots, 27 shots. So it's worse. It's straight up just worse than Triarch Praetorians, right? Who shoot 30 baseline. It shoots longer range though. You're gonna miss 9 of them. So you're gonna get 18 hits, and then you're fishing for 6s, or you're fishing for 3. So you're gonna get 12 devastating wounds. So you do, yeah. I mean, I don't know. The math was much easier than I had to. I didn't have to go through the whole process. The math was much easier. So you're gonna do 33 or 66% of 18, which is 12, right? 12 mortal wounds from a full unit of 6 Tomb Blades, or 13 mortal wounds from a full unit of 10 Triarch Praetorians. The Triarch Praetorians at least can deep strike and do it, which is cool. But yeah, I don't know. It's not like that's good, right? That's a good number, but it's not like game-breakingly crazy. A lot of times your Doomsday Arc is also just going to kill that many of those, and you're going to take Doomsday Arcs in every matchup anyway. So I don't know. It seems fine. You can't tell when I say some variation of Can It Kill Victrix is good or not. No, it's actually legit. It's real. It's super real. They're the boogeyman right now. Probably the strongest, like the Calgar Victrix brick's probably the strongest single unit in the game currently. And like being able to efficiently answer it is like one of the first steps, the first hurdles you have to get through to actually beat that matchup, which is already tough. All right, let's talk about Pantheon of Woe. We're gonna say, whoa, slow your roll, brother. We're gonna talk about the Pantheon. Detachment rule. This was actually really cool. I really like this detachment rule. Monsters, which means explicitly just Catan shards, right? I don't believe there's any other monsters in the entire faction. Even Doomstalkers or vehicles. Have a 6-inch aura that applies the unraveling status to enemies within it. While a foe is unraveling, improve the AP characteristic of attacks against them by 1. Apparently, in addition, stratagems have boosted effects against unraveling foes. The end of any phase, you can have any number, or start of any phase, excuse me, any number of Necron monsters from your army can take 3 mortal wounds. Importantly, they all have feel no pain, so it's probably 2 mortal wounds. And increase the size of their aura to 9 inches for that phase alone. Especially relevant with Transcendent Catan, who get access to a 6-inch deep strike teleport. Holy shit. But I think a lot of times what you're going to be doing is you're going to be like ingressing units and then just like running them up to the middle of your opponent's army and broadcasting the thing. Necrodermal bindings. Enhancements are out. Necrodermal bindings are in. You must take these on any Catan you take. Oh, it's the stupid Imperial Agent assassin ability where your assassins get an extra ability, but they become more expensive. Fair enough. Relativistic tether must be taken for every Transcendent Catan you take. All right. So that's the way to tax the units in this particular detachment, because I guess they feel that they're probably very strong. They're going to make them significantly more expensive, but also give them an extra bonus. Singularity Matrix. Deceiver gets a 12-inch command point tax aura. Sick. Okay. Yeah, okay. That's good. That's very good. Nightbringer gets advance and charge with a 10-inch base move. Allows for exceptional threat projection. Very good. Void Dragon gets extra anti-vehicle attack at the start of the opponent's shooting phase. Select or force one visible vehicle to take a leadership check. If you pass, they get -1 to hit that phase. If they fail, they also get -1 to wound. Yeah, okay. It is, I guess, I don't know. It is weird how like pointed the Void Dragon is against vehicles. There are some situations where all of his stuff just fails to do anything. Like his big gun is like strength 4 anti-vehicle 2. You're like, okay, what if I'm a mounted model? He's like, well, I wound an invader ATV on a 5. Let's go. Weird. Anyway, relativistic tether. Transcendent Catan can arrive 6 inches away using Deep Strike or their own teleport on your own turn. If you use Deep Strike, they can't charge. The intent of this is to set up Cosmic Distortion range boost, which is cute. Reasonably sure building around it is a trap. It also makes them a good utility unit. Sometimes back in the day when you could take an Enagic Dermal Bond Catan charge, Transcendent Catans, you would actually just deploy them in your opponent's deployment zone and just stand there for the entire game and do actions. And honestly, this feels like it's going to be kind of similar if you're building like 6 Catan lists, which are going to be a thing for sure. Stratagems. There's real tension at play here. Disharmonization Cascade. Disharmonization Cascade. Love it. Dying Catan. Deadly Demise is on a 3 instead of a 6. Sucks when you pop into does nothing. Yeah. I don't like this. Spend a CP. It should be you refund a CP if it fails, right? That would be how to make these stratagems better. I don't know why they don't do that. There's also times where you pay the CP and you still don't get any benefit from it, because if you've already gained CP back, then you can't refund again. So if you have like Imotech and you burn the strat, it's probably just burned forever. However, if you haven't gained CP yet, it should refund itself if you fail the roll. Otherwise, it's stupid to have a stratagem that you 33% of the time pay a CP and do literally nothing. Obviously, it's a strong stratagem because you do a bunch of mortal wounds, but like distributed mortal wounds are rarely the craziest thing in the world. So I don't know. It is a D6 deadly demise, but it's only within 6 inches of a single guy. It is what it is. Molecular erosion. In either command phase, once per battle round, force an unraveling enemy visible to a monster to take a battle check at -1. If they fail, they take D3 plus 1 mortal wounds. Okay. So take a billion mortal wounds and lose your objective, or I wasted a CP for nothing. That should be how these battle shock checks things are. Chat, how come they don't do this? If you have a stratagem that is a random thing, it should refund itself on a failure. Why don't they do that? What the fuck? Now I'm mad at myself. Like, you know, the stupid Nightmare Hunt one. Your opponent takes a battle shock check in when you set up a unit from reserve. 50-50 chance it doesn't do anything. What if you just refunded if it didn't do anything? That would be sick. I don't know. I've solved the problem. Mass transmogrification. Oh man, we're coming right out of Calvin and Hobbes with that. Going right in the transmogrifier box. When a Catan destroys an unraveling unit, either in shooting or fight, you can activate the reanimation protocols of a non-monster unit within 6 inches. That's kind of cool. The downside is that you can't use it on your Catan shards, and if you're bringing a bunch of Catan shards, then it is what it is. Entrophasic aura targeting. When non-monster Necron shoots or fights, give them reroll once to hit, reroll once to wound if the target is unraveling, which it will be if you're fighting. Tragic, but probably for the best that Catan themselves cannot use this. Oh, yeah. So you need to hunt for stuff that can heavily benefit. These stratagems are bad. Well, okay. Weird. Track Praetorians feel like the biggest winner. If I have volume melee attacks, well pitch the benefit from the extra AP. Okay. Chrono Distortion, Flight on Death on a 4+ or a 3+ if the attacking unit is unraveling. You can use this on Catan, providing yet another way to spin the roulette wheel of destruction. Again, extremely solid with Triarch Praetorians. Phase melding, force breakout test on an unraveling unit that falls back. -1 throw battle shock. Yeah, okay. It does work on monsters and vehicles. Okay. All right. Mid. I honestly, I thought that the Destroyer cult thing would be the one that like gets me going the most, or would be the one that gets me going the least. Excuse me. But that one feels just like it has an endless cavalcade of good abilities. This stuff is incredible, right? These effects are crazy, and these are the reasons you're playing this detachment. But like these stratagems are really weird. There's going to be some situations where you can unlock a lot of these because you're giving like a big buff on 3 Catan shards, but people don't want to play 3 Catan shards. They're going to play 5 Catan shards, which are notably don't have like huge, besides the necrodermal bindings, which makes them more expensive. They don't have like, they weirdly don't have the craziest synergy within their own detachment. I guess like +1 AP on all their attacks is good, but a lot of times your AP gets too high. You're like hitting at EP 5, and you're like, well, everything's on their influence save at that point anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Weird. What a bizarre detachment. I guess the real question is if you're going to play this or you're going to play Hypercrypt Legion if you're playing a bunch of Catan shards. If they all now deep strike naturally, getting an up-down that deep strikes those guys is crazy. Obviously, you can't Cosmic Precision them anymore. And this, you could still like just hold them in reserve and rapid ingress them and be annoying. And then they hit harder than they would otherwise because they have all this stuff. But the fact that basically none of their stratagems either most of the time don't do anything or don't do anything for Catan is really weird. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something, chat. I don't know. Two mid strats and 4 dog shit ones. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Bizarre. Like, fight on death, like an auto fight on death if you use it on monsters, that'd be kind of cool. If it was like 4+, 3+ bits of unraveling, automatic if it was a Catan, you just like, I don't know. Maybe it was 2 CP to target monsters, but it happened automatically. That'd be kind of neat. Just like the explosion not working automatically is weird. I understand why you don't give them the opportunity to reanimate Catan shards. Obviously, that's like super, super dumb, but I don't know. That's a weird detachment, champ. At least this one you can play without really having to worry about your command points, though, because you're like, what are you doing? Rerolling charges, I guess. Rerolling saving throws. A lot of this stuff is just like Catan shards, kind of like cascading through. Kind of strange. Interesting, chance. Interesting stuff. Yeah. So, in my opinion, the spookiest detachment here definitely feels like it's going to be the Destroyer one. Here we go. This one. Because this benefit is very strong. This benefit is not difficult to unlock, and basically all the stratagems are really good. Right? So like yeah, that was I was like, this one seems fine. But it actually unironically does feel like it's pretty sweet. I don't know. I'm a little spooked by that. A bunch of +2 strength guns getting unlocked by like 1 Inminic Annihilator killing 3 infantry models is like, okay. Or Inminic Destructor, or Exterminator, the Locust Heavy Destroyer weapon. Seems good. That seems like it's going to be very good. But I also think there's certainly something to be said for all the other detachments. I think Awakened Dynasty is going to be great. Being able to Reanimation Protocol Nekrosor Ammentar is going to be sick, right? You get like an Agent Durable Bond guy plus this guy plus Saraz. You have just a million characters running around that are impossible to kill. That's going to be wild. Obviously Hypercrypt Legion with all this stuff having Deep Strike and being really fast is going to be crazy. Yeah, I don't know. Even Cryptek Court, because you have easy access to rerolls and Nekrosor gives you huge numbers of sustained hits, might actually be crazy too. So, man, if I was a Necron player, I'd be ready to feast. I am worried. I think that the leaked points, somebody had posted a screenshot of it, and I should pull it up. Because I think it's worth addressing. Like I said before, points have been leaked, but I have a sneaky suspicion that they are probably printed points for the book, but not necessarily the final Minotaur Field Manual entries for that book. And I would, before anyone doomsays, I would expect those to change, or at least change in the near future if they release. Yeah, here we go. So French Wargame Studio, shout out to them, by the way. They do great live stream coverage for Worlds. Nightbringer at 315, Void Dragon at 310, Deceiver at 285, Transcendent at 305, Ammentar at 165. Ammentar at 165 is, I mean, honestly, like Nightbringer, we have to see what the stats look like on these, but I imagine they go up 4 wounds. Their damage reduction ability changes, and they get 4 extra inches of movement. All of those numbers are really good for these things. Like we talked about, the stat line is basically equivalent to a knight, and you're paying significantly less points. They don't shoot as hard, but they do hit almost as hard, and they're like basically faster, right? They're the same movement characteristic. They don't tower, but they deep strike. So that's like, it's kind of spooky. I would expect those to be higher. This number feels like it's a little bit, that feels a little low. I don't know. For a big fight first deep striker with lone operative and a huge aura effects that gives all your huge buffs to literally every unit in your army. Okay. For 165. Crazy. What is Sarah's at now? He launched at like 115 or something. I think he went to 130. Yeah, he's currently 165. And he's worse. He's 165 and doesn't even have half the things this guy does. His AP like buff is a smaller aura and affects only battle line. And his melee is like significantly worse, and he does a deep strike. He's just harder to kill. I don't know, chance. I'm a little bit worried about that number. That's the one that gets me. Especially because Ammentar's going to be, I think, in every list. And Nightbringer at 315 is probably in every list too. We'll see. The data sheets for the other ones got leaked? Oh shit, like just now? I don't know where they would be. Let's see if I can find them. If somebody has them, let me know. But I don't have them. I don't know. I don't have them. Deceiver, Entrance, and Catan are only move 8. Oh. Okay. I guess that makes sense. Are they 16 wounds, though? That's the real question. Yeah, I can't find them, chap. It is nice that Void Dragon is faster. He does feel like he needs to be faster for sure. Saber went to strength 10 in melee, 16 wounds minus damage on all of them. Oh, yuck! I do not like that, chat. 16 wounds does feel like it's too many. Especially on the little guys. I think like just sort of conceptually. Conceptually, it feels like it's a lot. I don't know. On the little tiny 40 mil base dudes. You put a 40 mil on this guy, give him the equivalent of like 30 wounds. Come on. What are you doing? If Ammentar is 165, you should include one in every army. Yeah. That's the real part I'm worried about. Is like the Catan to some extent will be like this central thing. Like it's at that point it's a sixth of your army. You have to play around it. Obviously, it's like crazy damage and it's impossible to kill and it's going to be insane. But the other thing too that I think a lot of people have skipped over when we're talking about the Catan shards is that this isn't their total wounds count, right? Their total wounds count is this divided like this plus however many reanimation effects they have. And because they have a feel no pain and a damage reduction, any additional wounds they get back from reanimation protocols extends their life, right? It goes farther. So let's say that, typically the average reanimation from a reanimation protocol is 2 wounds. With a feel no pain, 2 wounds essentially becomes 3 wounds. With a damage reduction, it's basically 4 wounds. And if you have an out of phase reanimation effect and you take more than 1 round to kill him, he's basically at the equivalent of 20. He's at 20 baseline wounds, which means now you have to deal 30 to kill him through a damage reduction, which means his actual his actual equivalent wounds count is like 40 to 45. Depending on what attacks you're attacking with it because of the damage reduction. Like it actually is crazy. If you can't one tap him, and one tapping him is going to be tough. So I don't know. I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. The 16 wounds I think is going to get pretty wild. With just feeling pain on everything and damage reduction everywhere. Like we already see it doing well with the demon lists where they're sort of on average lower or equivalent toughness characteristic and don't have a feel no pain, so their wounds characteristic is lower, and they don't heal as often because they only heal once or twice per game. And those lists are already doing well. If you stack a feel no pain on top of what is already a good like greater demon spam list, it's going to be fucking disgusting because the profiles are not that dissimilar. They're very similar. I don't know, chat. Soul off all the Doomsday arcs. I wouldn't say that so far. But anyway, it depends entirely on what we see for this the final points value here, I think, in my opinion. If they do end up coming to their senses and Nightbringer comes out at like 385 or 390 or something, all right. Like he is a knight at that point, and you play against him like you would a knight. But if he drops at 315 and Ammentar's at 165, this is going to be pretty brutal. At that point, we're hoping for Victrix to stay at 4 wounds. Please, guys, give me something that can fight against these. Although, hilariously, Victrix are actually like incredibly bad into Night Catan shards. So the one profile that could potentially save us is these guys that are -1 damage and have a feel no pain and exactly enough toughness that they only have to pump their once per game to not win them on 6s. Incredible. It's like they've constructed a metagame for us. Anyway, chats, that's what we got to talk about today. Some pretty exciting stuff coming from 500 Worlds. I am interested to see how the new Space Marine detachments go. I have a sneaking suspicion none of them will be even close to as good as the ones as Gladius Task Force, but we'll see. If they are as good as Gladius Task Force, oh boy, are we in for a crazy time. That's gonna be wild. But with that, chat, I'm gonna be live in about half an hour here over on Twitch. We'll drop a link to my Twitch. Boop. I'm going to be playing Nemo the Fish, and he is playing Blood Angels. I will be playing Salamanders. We'll have a Space Marine battle, and we'll see how we go. We just had a very successful game with Salamanders last night against Darren, and we're going to see if we can recreate our success. So let's see how it goes. I'm excited. So yeah, come give me a follow over there. Come hang out. And I'll see you in about 30 minutes over on the Twitchies. Otherwise, I'm going to be streaming on Friday. I think we're not going to do a Warhammer Wednesday this week because I have a bunch of preparation to do for the Teams event this weekend. I will be at the TEO Teams of 8 on Friday. That's going to be starting Friday around noontime Central Time. So 1 to 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern. And that's what's going on. So I will see you over there. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me today, and I'll go ahead and redirect you to that streaming event. Cheers everyone, keep it classy folks, have happy wargaming, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.